History is not only what is written, it's what is remembered and what is erased. For generations, one story was told, while another was buried. The African American experience is not a footnote. It is the foundation, built in the shadows, brilliant in silence, resilient under pressure. These are the voices left out of textbooks, the communities erased from maps, the brilliant history forgot. This is not a rewrite of the past, it is the missing truth. To understand America, we must finally see it whole.
Segregated shores, America's beaches and resorts. Along America's sunlit shores, freedom once ended at the water's edge. During the Jim Crow era, African Americans were systematically barred from most public beaches, hotels, and resorts. Segregation laws, and the violence that enforced them, made rest, recreation, and even ocean air a privilege denied. But exclusion did not erase the human need for joy, dignity, and escape. So Black communities built their own. From coastlines and lakeshores to tucked-away resort towns, African Americans created spaces where families could swim without fear, dance without restraint, and breathe without apology. These beaches and resorts became sanctuaries, places of laughter, music, romance, and renewal, where Black life could exist fully, even under the shadow of segregation. They were more than vacation spots. They were acts of resistance. This is the story of those hidden shorelines and summer havens, of resilience shaped by exclusion and beauty born from necessity. This is the history of segregated beaches and resorts, and the communities that transformed them into symbols of freedom. This multi-episode series will tell the history of 12 segregated beaches and resorts, and the communities that transformed them into symbols of freedom. American Beach, Bruce's Beach, Buckroe Beach, Carr's Beach, Chicken Bone Beach, Highland Beach, Idlewild, Oak Bluffs, Pleasure Island, Sag Harbor, the Ink Well, and Virginia Key Beach. Before the laughter, before the boardwalk, before the promise of summer freedom, there was a shoreline that reflected America exactly as it was. Buckroe Beach, along Chesapeake Bay in Hampton, Virginia, was once a symbol of leisure, escape, and seaside joy. But beneath its beauty lay a harsher truth. The beach was never meant for everyone. This is the story of Buckroe Beach, and the people who were denied its waters, who built their own joy nearby, and who forced America to confront the question, who deserves rest? By the late 19th century, Buckroe Beach had become one of Virginia's most popular seaside destinations. Rail lines and trolleys carried visitors from Hampton, Newport News, and Norfolk. Hotels rose along the shore. Amusement rides spun. Boardwalk vendors sold food, souvenirs, and the promise of escape. For white Virginians, Buckroe Beach represented modern leisure. A place to swim, relax, flirt, and forget the pressures of daily life. But for Black Virginians, Buckroe Beach was a reminder of exclusion. Jim Crow segregation governed nearly every aspect of public life in the South, and beaches were no exception. Though the shoreline itself was public land, access was controlled by custom, threat, and law. Segregation at Buckroe Beach was enforced quietly and relentlessly. Black families were barred from bathhouses, concession stands, hotels, and amusement rides. Police patrols and private enforcers ensured compliance. Violence did not always need to occur. The threat was enough. Swimming, one of the most basic joys of summer, was racially restricted. Black residents of Hampton knew the rules well. Parents warned children. Churches organized outings elsewhere. Community leaders understood the risks of defiance. The ocean was open. The beach was not. When denied Buckroe Beach, Black residents turned to marginal spaces nearby. Stretches of shoreline left undeveloped, unguarded, and ignored by city investment. These areas had no lifeguards, no restrooms, no boardwalks, no protection. But they had something essential: belonging. Families gathered anyway. Children learned to swim despite dangerous conditions. Food was shared, music played. Sundays became sacred beach days after church. This wasn't leisure by invitation. It was leisure by necessity. In 1898, just miles from Buckroe, Black entrepreneurs made a revolutionary decision. If access was not granted, it would be built. Bayshore Beach was founded as a Black-owned, Black-operated seaside resort, one of the earliest of its kind on the East Coast. It featured picnic grounds, a dance pavilion, baseball fields, and later an amusement park. Bayshore became a destination of dignity. Black families traveled from across Virginia and neighboring states. Musicians performed. Baseball teams competed. Children laughed freely in the water. Bayshore did not replace Buckroe, but it challenged its exclusivity. The contrast was stark. Buckroe Beach received public investment, maintenance, and promotion. Bayshore relied on community funding and self-determination. Buckroe symbolized access controlled by race. Bayshore symbolized freedom created through resilience. Both existed along the same bay. Both felt the same sun. Only one was sanctioned by the state. This was Jim Crow geography, where segregation shaped not just neighborhoods, but pleasure itself. By the mid-20th century, segregation faced increasing legal and moral pressure. Black veterans returned from World War II unwilling to accept second-class citizenship. Civil rights organizations began challenging segregated public spaces. Beaches, often ignored in civil rights narratives, became quiet battlegrounds. Court rulings across the country increasingly ruled that publicly funded beaches could not legally exclude citizens by race. Buckroe Beach stood exposed. Eventually, Buckroe Beach was forced to open to Black residents. On paper, the color line disappeared. In practice, another pattern emerged. White attendance declined. Investment slowed. Amusement rides were dismantled. Hotels closed or changed purpose. The vibrant resort atmosphere faded. This phenomenon, seen nationwide, was not coincidence. It was the cost of integration in a society unwilling to share space equally. Desegregation did not bring reinvestment. It brought abandonment. Buckroe Beach survived, but the era of spectacle was gone. What disappeared was more than rides and hotels. It was the acknowledgement that Black families had been denied joy, and that this denial carried generational consequences. Bayshore Beach, too, declined after desegregation, losing its necessity and support in a changing world. Freedom arrived, but unevenly. Today, Buckroe Beach is open to everyone. Families picnic, children splash in the water, joggers trace the shoreline. The beach no longer enforces exclusion. But history remains invisible to most visitors. There are few markers, few plaques, few reminders of what once stood here, and who was kept out. Without memory, injustice. Buckroe Beach tells us that the struggle for civil rights was not only about voting or education, it was about rest, about joy, about who was allowed to feel safe at the water's edge. In Jim Crow America, even the ocean had boundaries. To remember Buckroe Beach fully is to recognize that freedom is not complete unless it includes the right to live fully, to laugh, to swim, and to belong. The water remembers. So should we.